Welcome to Affordable Foundations, Legacy Impact Through Housing, the podcast that explores how housing shapes communities and creates lasting legacies. I'm your host, Cecilia Cossio, and each week we'll dive deep into solutions, challenges, and opportunities in affordable, attainable, and workforce housing. From current housing models to innovative approaches reshaping the industry, we'll explore the policies, investment strategies, and community-driven initiatives that are making a real impact. Housing isn't just about buildings, it's about people, opportunity, and the future we're creating together. We believe everyone plays an important role in affordable housing, whether you're a real estate investor, developer, policymaker, property manager, or someone passionate about creating positive change. Affordable Foundations is your go-to source for insights and inspiration. So let's break barriers, redefine possibilities, and build a legacy together. On today's episode of Affordable Foundations, we welcome Melvin and Jacqueline Landry, the power duo behind Moreland Equity Capital. Melvin brings coaching and real estate acumen, while Jacqueline, an expert in tax strategy and capital management, serves as a CFO. Together, they're solving homelessness, maximizing impact, and building legacy through affordable housing. Stay tuned as we unpack their mission, methods, and community transformation rippling from their work. Welcome, Jacqueline and Melvin. Let's get started by telling us how you two came up with this wonderful dream team you have put together.
All right, I can go ahead and I can get started. So real estate journey started 2005. Started as, watching my buddies from college, had a few rental properties. And for me, it kind of went on autopilot. So I just started buying and buying and buying. So bought my first property, which is now 18 minutes from the house, for approximately $32,000. It was a duplex. Went through a private lender and ended up renting it out on HUD, on Section 8, actually. And it cash flowed a couple of $100 a month. And I was doing this while I was living in Nebraska. And it just grew from there. So one property turned into five properties turned to 15, 30 before you know it. I had 50-something properties, and I was flying from Nebraska to Pittsburgh every quarter to go check on the rentals. The mindset was different then. So it was just kind of like a hobby / extra cash. But yeah, so we kind of grew it and maintained. And that one state turned into 3 states. So then I bought a single family house in Indianapolis, and I bought a $250,000 condo in Scottsdale, Arizona. Okay, fast forward to 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
Come tumbling down. So the single family house that I had in Indy, I short sold that and did a short sale on the other condo in Arizona also as well. So I bought that condo for $285,000. I sold it for $72,000. So I lost and had quite a stain on the credit. But, you live and you learn from those experiences. So came back and built on it, but stuck in Western PA because I was making a substantial amount of money and the numbers made sense. The math made sense. I just kept buying in Class C areas. And just, the numbers made sense. We pulled the trigger on it. So fast forward, met this beautiful lady here on the top right of my corner in 2011. We got married in 2012. And kind of came to the partnership with a portfolio and leveraged it at the time. Kind of took my foot off the gas once I got married and had a family and things of that nature. But life calls, family, son, right, growing our family, etc. So, and then we went into entrepreneurship. There, you want to kind of take the baton from there, say 2014, 2015, when I had the properties and we're maintaining. So you want to jump in?
Sure. So we decided to diversify our portfolio by buying a business in Dallas, Texas. So fast forward 4 years, we lost $1 million. I ran and operated the business, but the model was just flawed. So there we are 4 years later, blood, sweat, tears, back issues from running the gelato shop, so on and so forth, and while having a new baby and living in a new state. And there I was, turning off the lights for the last time, going, so now what? Now what? COVID happened on top of it. Closed the business in 2019. 2020, we all know that was the start of COVID. So I went back to corporate America. Didn't think I was going to have to do that again after being an entrepreneur, right? Well, hey, that's the way the balls roll, right? Had to go back to consulting. Worked for a software company for 3 years. And then one day, my husband said, "Hey, I got a proposition for you." And I said, "Hey, what is it?" And he was like, "Are you ready to quit your job?" And I was like, "When? Today? Tomorrow?" And he asked me that because in order to really build a team and build a business, a real estate business, it has to be more than just one person. You have to develop a team. Everybody in the team needs to have a role. So I said, thank you. Gave my job about 2 months notice, and then quit to join in the real estate journey. And there was a little bit of a shift there from single family rentals to multifamily. So I'm passing the baton, honey.
Yep. So, you think about 2019, right? So when we closed our entrepreneurial business, it was a good thing I had cash flow in real estate. To be honest with you, it kind of saved us from really coming down with a hard crash, if you will. We talked about bankruptcy, other type of options to kind of clear and kind of reset. But it was a good thing I had those rentals in the back lay. So, thanks to those rental properties, I was able to sell majority of the portfolio and really kind of do the reset. So that ended up being a blessing in disguise. And I didn't realize it until kind of after the fact. So we kind of fast forwarded, right? We got in different rooms, got in with different teams, consortiums, meeting folks, and tried to put our foot on the gas in terms of multifamily. So grew that ordeal, got to understand what it meant to be a passive investor, for good, for bad, or for ugly, right? And, through a substantial amount of capital at various deals, right? Building relationships and, taking a chance on this newfound trajectory outside of the single family norm, which was all we knew at the time. So we did that while at the same time transitioning, moving from Texas to Pennsylvania and trying to grow our respective footprint as well, because we had a base of a foundation. I've been investing there since 2005. So I know municipalities, I know areas, I know streets, and I've been quite successful, honestly. So looking to kind of grow that notch and take it up a notch. So the last 3 years have been quite interesting for both of us in terms of learning the facets of all aspects of multifamily, how different things go, fine-tuning our traits in the asset management facet, and have a good now foundation of really taking it to the next level. So foot wasn't on the gas in 2005. Our foot's definitely on the gas pedal now in 2025, 20 years later. So I look back and reflect and just think, hey, man, what if my foot was on the gas then versus where they are now, where it would maybe be a different story. But, you go through those experiences and those trajectories for a reason, a season in our lifetime. So things are looking up. We are having momentum, and we're growing pretty fast. It's pretty fun to see. So
I'm a believer in everything has its place and purpose, and you went through those seasons to get you to where you are today and make you successful where you are today. So I met you guys at one of the mentorship programs that we both joined in a mastermind. So we ended up traveling together and seeing different parts of the country together, learning and listening to the different groups that came across our pass.
Yeah.
I've watched y'all go from, I know when I met y'all talked about single family, you talked about your business, you talked about you were different syndications I believe, where you you've diversified your investments as well, like what I've been watching. But the reason that I really wanted you guys to come on this podcast is because I have also watched you serve the affordable workforce community, affordable housing, workforce housing. And it's something that, people say they want to do that, but the proof is in the pudding, right? When you actually do it, and you do it with intention.
Yeah.
So, it's not going and buying a C value add property with the mindset that you're going to transition it to a B property. I always tell people that's not likely to happen. You can make it a C plus unless it's unless it's a very specific situation where you can make it a B, but typically a C property is a C property is a C property. And it's typically workforce housing. So people learn a little differently, but you guys actually go into these deals understanding what they are. So I've really enjoyed watching that, because when you buy something and you call it a workforce housing, it is. When you say I'm renting a Section 8, it is. And so part of your message is the term solution to homelessness, solution to homelessness. What does that mean for you?
That's a good question. I'll jump in and start and saying, what does that mean, right? In terms of solving a problem, solving folks' problems. I work multiple jobs, right? Pride myself on working multiple jobs. I'm a hard worker. Just today, I talked to 2 individuals in my day, communicating with text messages. One guy's living out of his car. He needs housing. One lady got into it with her landlord. She has a service animal. She don't find a place by end of the month. Next month, she's done. She don't have anywhere to go. So for me, it kind of started there. One of my first 2 tenants were, dealing with the housing authority, dealing with the intricacies of it, right? Learning along the way. So pride myself on being a partner to the housing authority. I pride myself on being, me and my wife being partners to kind of help solve the affordable housing crisis. Pride myself on, look, when you hear program rentals, ding, ding, Landry goes up. Folks know the name, right? We get referrals from other family members and helping to solve the crisis. So that's, that cause, I think, is key and critical to our mission. And look, it's a feel-good story when you found someone, you can help them do housing. They mean well, right? We give everyone, we have our requirements. Everybody got to do a background check. But I guarantee you, right, you talk credit check, 90% of the folks we deal with, 80% of them are going to fail, all right? That's just the nature of the beast. So, we've learned, and in terms of the diversification of the criteria for the folks that we reach out to try to bring to the fold, and we're mindful. And look, it's about being with a partnership with all the many different programs in our area to help solve the crisis at the end of the day. So we know, look, inflation doesn't just hit these people. It hit me, you, my wife, everyone. It's a silent killer. So, being able to kind of help provide that adequate need of housing, and being able to, address the needs as they kind of come out, right? Nothing's ever perfect. I think tenants appreciate that. And that what has kept the momentum for us in our local market. Kept it going quite well. And look, my phone can't stop ringing, and I get random calls and texts almost every day, which is a good problem to have, right? So now it's just trying to keep up with demand, because it's 5,000 vouchers deep where people need housing in our local area market. We don't have 5,000 units, right? We're growing. So trying to help kind of mend the gap from that standpoint. So helping to solve the crisis, solve the problems, give folks housing, win-win for everyone. So
Yeah, Cecilia, I would just want to add on to that. I think Melvin's mission is right on track with mine and ours. But I'd like to say a little bit differently. I'm a huge proponent of women in real estate, women business owners. I belong to Women Funding the World out of New York. I belong to a women real estate group here. And really, I want to share the knowledge of what we do from a real estate perspective with other females, because we need some more of us in the industry. And I'm also huge on a lot of our Section 8 tenants are women, right? They're women that have fallen upon a bad situation and need housing assistance. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they need assistance, some more than others. We are also working with other nonprofits in and around our county, such as Action Housing. And I think that's one of the programs that we've worked with that have really touched my heart. When I hear these people's stories, hey, I've been abused, Action Housing will help them move from the situation and get into a house or an apartment that is safe, so that they can, start to rebuild their lives. And we are working with Action Housing and some of the other nonprofit programs here, as well as Section 8. So all of the ones that are women based are the ones that touch me more.
That's, Jacqueline, you and I, we kind of are aligned in that because we like to empower women. We like to empower, minority women. Women as a whole are minorities. Like we say minority women, but we are minority when you look at, especially in this real estate investing world, like there's a very small percentage of real estate investors that are women. And the way to create wealth is through housing. And to me, when these children have to experience homelessness, that breaks them on so many levels. So I think it's our responsibility, when we have the ability, to provide them a resource to call home. Section 8, the nonprofits that provide vouchers, that provide assistance. And Melvin, you spoke about credit. That is something that I teach in my classes and in my consulting world is, listen, if you're going to service the workforce housing profile, like, you gotta understand, they don't have, and this is a very broad brush statement, but if you're expecting a 720 credit score, it's not likely to happen across the board. You may have, a 25 to 50 percentile, and I don't have that stat here. I'm throwing that out based on applications that we see, right? But you're looking at more of the mid 600s. And what I've told people is, look at the rental history. And if somebody had a broken lease, when's the last time they rented? Is the last year showing stability? Because things happen and people still require housing. Bad things happen to good people. And it's our job to help them. And you providing that resource, when you were talking about like the credit score, the credit application, or credit results, that is major. Can you hit a little bit on that? Because I'm going to ask you that from just the applicant side, but also from an investor side, because you mentioned, your losses in 2008, but here you are.
Yeah. It's, everyone that kind of comes through our bank, if you will, required to do a background check. You don't get keys unless you get a background check. So I've changed the game between 2024 and 2025, right? We've had some feel-good stories from 2024 that didn't end well.
Right.
So I had a learning experience leading into this year. So everyone must, who come through the door looking for housing, willing to help any and everybody if I can. But I kind of need to know what the landscape is. So look, the average scores that we're seeing,
580.
It's 550, 600.
Yeah.
That's kind of where they're at, right? Some person, he or she has some form of a delinquency, right? Whether student loan debt, car, whatever the case may be. As with everything, right? Criteria based, we got some non-negotiables, right? So,
right.
But for the most part, when you talk, look, if you got a credit blemish, we tend to, right, particularly if they're tied in with a program, right, there's some form of subsidy, some form of support. So
right.
We tend to be gracious in that regard. But you mentioned, the education, right? There's a couple of things. There's three things that they don't teach in school. money, finance, and credit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And those are one of the things that we're harping in on with our son. He's 10, right? And I kind of wish I would have known back then what I know now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, look, they're not teaching those 3 core metrics in school that everyone needs to have some type of foundation to kind of drive the decision making that will put you over the top to keep you in those higher type tiers, right? And so so that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and dear, I'd like to talk a little bit about our credit score, right? So we lost $1 million. Real estate kept us from declaring bankruptcy. But one thing, so we talked about, I kind of want to circle back for a little bit. So we talked about, we had all these single family rentals. We had this loss in our business, but what we didn't say is as a result of that loss, we had to sell 75% of Melvin's portfolio. And I call it Melvin's portfolio because he had that before we were married, right? So here we now have 25 or less properties, right, left. We have a failed business. We have SBA loans, which are never, I repeat, never forgiven. Bankruptcy, no bankruptcy, whatever, SBA loans are not forgiven. So luckily, I was able to find a job. Melvin still had a job. So our credit score wasn't affected by that loss. It could have very well been had Melvin not had his real estate to fund the business that was failing for 4 years. Okay. But there has been times where our credit has fluctuated. Right. So after we found multifamily syndications, we started joining masterminds. Well, Cecilia, as well as we know, they're not cheap if you want to be in the right room. So we built up some debt there, right? Sometimes when you're rehabbing different units and properties, you may request from the lender a reimbursement, and then they'll say no for some odd reason. Oh, I didn't know that you replaced the floor, right? So we found ourselves in a situation where, a few of those lenders said no to us on the rehab. And here we are with $70,000 of cash that we just spent on rehab. So what does that do? Masterminds and one lender saying no on a large amount of rehab can drop your credit score substantially, right? So keep in mind that you have to be very calculated in what you do. And luckily, Melvin is still working. So that helped us get out of the situation.
That's awesome. For you real estate investors that are listening to this, I want you to hear what they're saying. This is real, raw, and true information on how they worked through some of the strategies, some of the hiccups. They strategized to get on the other side. Because I think what happens for us entrepreneurs is everybody sees the great stuff on social media, right? But they don't see the hard, real, raw information. And it's not that we don't post it. It's just not what people see. You may post some real raw videos, but they always want to see the good feely stuff. But I think what people can take away from this is if you keep pushing along, strategize, invest in yourself, understand the importance of how real estate can help in these difficult times. It helps us as real estate investors. It helps my mother, my sister, my brother, my neighbor, my HUD applicant, resident, child who lives on these properties, because that's their next step to their own generational wealth. You have to start with a home. That is the absolute foundation for our future, is giving these children a place to call home and understanding the experiences of how to move to that next level. We talk about these myths, and Melvin, I'm going to, Jacqueline as well. I know that as investors, everybody hears, oh, don't do Section 8, don't do this, they're going to damage your apartment, they're going to do this. How do you, I know how I've worked through some of those myths, but how do you guys debunk those?
I mean, it happens. So
Yeah.
I would say my risk tolerance is a lot more than what it was. I mean, I don't go into it living in fear, if you will. So, and even for our local portfolio, I choose to put my face, every tenant walking through the door. So they know what time it is. I set the record straight. I'm pretty brass when I'm in my communication, but I let them know where I'm coming from. I let them know, look, this is what it is. You want to be a part of this? Or you don't? You can keep it moving, right? And it's just the way it is. I actually enjoy taking on that risk, that opportunity. I've been doing this since 2005, so I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Seen it all. I've seen it all. Okay.
Well, I know you have because we've had conversations, and I've been doing it a long time. Yeah. So when I hear somebody who's seen what I've seen, like when I hear those key words or those experiences, and I'm like, yeah, that person really does do Section 8. Like they understand it.
I've seen it all, and look, every person is not perfect. I've had a few people who I've tried to be nice to get over. It comes back, okay?
Yeah.
And it comes back some way or another. It comes back. So, you just gotta have some thick skin. You gotta be willing to deal with some of the issues that some of these tenants bring. And like I said, I've seen it all between the domestic violence. I've had an individual had an associate trash her unit, and she had no clue. It's just you need to be tough skinned, but at the end of the day, it's just math.
Yeah.
The math matters at the end of the day. So, but you gotta be prepared. It's not rosy on the other side of the street sometimes. So, you just be prepared to deal with it. And, but again, it goes back to the screening, right? You got to be able to screen the right people. Yeah. You got to be able to tell and provide some best judgment. And look, I haven't been perfect. So, yeah.
That comes to the mission and return. Like, Jacqueline, I know you're the numbers. You both are the numbers people, but I know Jacqueline really, strives on that. Tell me about where mission and return have been realized for you guys.
Sure. Before we get into that, I'd like to just add one more thing. So you said, how do we approach it when somebody says, "Ooh, you're an affordable housing landlord"? People look at me like I have three eyes. And then when they say, well, how can you deal with those people? So it's a persona, it's a stereotype that everybody that's on Section 8 is bad, and every landlord that wants to be a Section 8 landlord is also bad. And I kind of stop and I pause and then I ask, well, wouldn't you want to, how about trying to be a Section 8 landlord or an affordable housing landlord? I don't want to be a slumlord. Another stereotype about an affordable housing landlord. One of the things, our mission statement is to provide tenants that want to live in a C-class area an A-class experience. Okay. So does everybody know what that means? C-class area, so one that's not like the best, but we want to provide them with an A-class experience. So provide them with a renovated unit. Do we have to do renovated units? No. Nothing in Section 8 guidelines say that we have to renovate our unit. Do we need to answer the phone on a timely basis or answer a tenant issue on a timely basis? Do we have to cut the grass and put salt down when it snows? The answer to all those questions are no to the most extent. But we pride ourselves in treating Section 8 tenants like real people, to hopefully empower them to feel good about themselves, to do better things in this world. So again, I just want to give my perspective when I say that we are affordable housing landlords. Those are the responses that I get. And I give that explanation back.
Perfect. That is perfect. Experiences that they may not receive somewhere else, or experiences that give them the desire to move forward in a different direction that they might not have known before, because you don't know what you don't know. And when we are able to provide them with these experiences that gives them a stepping stone, or a step to hope, or a future desire that they wouldn't have known before. Some of these children, may live by the beach but never been to the beach. They never really understood what it's like to when you live in a community where a police department brings over the horses, right? Like, they've never seen a horse. Like, these are different experiences that some of us are like, what? But this is real stuff in this affordable housing realm that I think living in a rehabbed apartment with, nice countertops, or new appliances, or new lighting, or something as simple as new lighting. Because when you go to some of these places that haven't been updated, we're talking about some pretty outdated pieces of equipment and hardware. So that's great to hear that you guys do that. And again, I'm not surprised, and again, why I see y'all be so successful out there in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to answer
thank you
your
for sharing
second
that
question, Cecilia, on taxes and why we do what we do. So we talked about affordable housing and what we do here in our own 72 doors. We own those wholly. So Melvin and I are the sole owners of those. So we do it for the community, but we also do it for cash flow. So it's very lucrative when it comes to cash flow. And I don't care what anybody says, at the end of the day, cash flow matters. Okay. You can have millions of dollars in syndications, but I don't know about you, but I can't live off the cash flow of syndications. And by the way, we're in 16 syndications. Okay. So you may say, well, why do we do that? We have great cash flow on the affordable housing local market section. But on the other side, be smart, folks. And you got to think about, if you're starting to build up your cash flow, what happens with cash flow? You got to pay taxes. Okay. So what are you going to do to help remedy the tax burden that you have on all of this rental income? So we have, we're invested in 16 syndications across multifamily, self-storage, mobile home parks, and triple net. Okay. Most of them were passive investors, but 5 of them were general partners, where we help raise money and we help in the activity of the property. But there's some great tax benefits that we get from syndications by by the lead doing a cost segregation study that provides us basically cost segregation studies will move that depreciation expense all the way to the front so that the investors can benefit from that. So we get these very large K1s that what happens? That offset Melvin's salary and offset all of the rental income that is continuing to build for us. So I say to everybody out there when they say, "Oh, I want to be a passive investor." Do you need cash flow? If that's what you need, I'm going to say you shouldn't do that. And vice versa. So think about the broad picture. You got to think about the tax consequences of what you're doing. If not, it's nothing more than like working a job and keeping less and less of the salary in your pocket. Well, when you're an entrepreneur, it's the same thing. You want to keep as much money in your pocket as possible. So make sure you're thinking about the entire strategy of your investment portfolio. Diversify, 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 and continue to up the ante on your different tax strategies, which we'll be doing in the latter half of 2025. We're going to be diversifying a little bit more and getting a little bit more aggressive on our tax strategy.
That's phenomenal.
Anything to add
Now,
on that, honey?
No, I'm with you on that in terms of the tax strategy being trying to have some type of fully understanding of what the government wants us to do, right? This kind of support their initiative. That's at the end of the day. So I think it's been an aha moment in the last 4 or 5 years in terms of really understanding what the government wants us to do, right? And it's thought about a little different, right? So, you asked me probably 10, 15 years ago, I'd be like, look, it's okay having the job, okay, paying my fair share of tax, and I'm a happy man. I can't accept that for an answer today. So I need to diversify, put money to work in different type ways, and I don't expect to have to pay any more tax ever. I want to do what the government wants me to do and incentivize me to help them with their initiatives as favorable as possible for from a tax strategy standpoint. So it's about thinking about things a little different now, right? So now I'm not thinking about, I'm content with giving my fair share and being happy. Steward. Those days are over. So I want to do what the government wants us to do from a real estate perspective to kind of put for housing, so I don't have to have any tax liability. I'm helping the government support their initiatives. So when I think about it a little different now I see the value, right, from that perspective ordeal. So it's a mindset shift.
It is.
That's where it starts. It's a mindset shift. So.
Yes.
Yeah, so my answer is different now versus 10, 15 years ago. And that's pretty cool to see now.
Yeah, Cecilia. So I was reading one of the Tom Wheelwright books, and it says in first page, it said, what partner are you with the government? Regardless of what it is, you're one of these partners. They need people that go to work a job and pay taxes. Mm-hmm. The government needs that. But the government also doesn't want to be in agricultural. They don't want to be in real estate. They don't want to be in tech. They don't want to run and operate businesses. So you have a choice. And the craziest thing in the thing that really gets on my nerves, and when it says, well, the rich people don't pay taxes. Wrong. Well, right. Maybe right. But the concept is, the wealthy and the rich people are taking advantage of the code that the government built way back when. And it's the people that are the working class just choose to not know and understand what that code is. So I'm sorry when somebody says, hey, well, you're rich and you don't pay taxes. Well, that's not the case. We're rich and wealthy because we want to learn and understand the tax law, and we choose to partner with the government that way versus work a W-2 and pay taxes. So for the audience out there that's really listening, choose what kind of partner you want to be. But make sure you understand both, because we need both in this world, and it's for you to decide, what you truly, how you truly want to serve or partner with the government.
Absolutely.
And I'll close on that by saying, look, just follow social media. You follow the circles. You have folks who, who feel they're entitled to XYZ without putting in the work or reading the code to understand the things that they need to do to avoid that tax obligation. It's probably 50 to 60% of the people out there. Okay. And then you got other circles that you see out there that's the dialogues are very different, right? Talking about cost segregation, right, and real estate and housing and different type of tools and tricks and tactics to incentivize yourself to avoid those tax obligations. So it's just a matter of what side of the ball you want to be on. So I see it both. I got friends in circles who are on both sides of the ball, right, who complain that they're paying too much tax and they have a job. And I got others who are, they're looking to partner in with the government to avoid that respective liability and grow the fruits of the labor of society that the government wants and intended for. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys have, given a lot of information. And I think that the end of this is just as good as the beginning, because we miss out on so many opportunities when it comes to the tax loopholes. And I call them loopholes. I mean, that's what they are. But the reality of it is they're there for us to use. So it's, use them. You just have to know what they are, the way to know what they are is get in the right circles, get the right education. Do you guys want to share how our listeners could contact y'all if they were interested in investing with you guys or being part of any of your programs?
Go ahead, honey.
Dear, I'll let you. Oh, okay. I will speak like we're on all the social channels. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. Melvin Landry, Jacqueline Landry. You also we have a website also as well, www.morelandequity.com. You can find us there. We operate a podcast also as well. So we preach diversification, as you've heard over the past 40 minutes or so. So we have a podcast called Get Diversified as well. So this is you've been in the mix and been a guest on our show.
Yes.
So look, we pride ourselves on diversification. My family's diversified, and we're trying to be diversified in everything that we do. So YouTube, Spotify, Get Diversified. You'll find these beautiful faces on the website. So that's how you can find us from that standpoint. So
awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us today and providing, again, such great information to our listeners. And to our listeners, remember that affordable housing isn't just about buildings. It's about people, opportunities, and building a legacy for future generations. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode of Affordable Foundations, Legacy Impact Through Housing. I hope today's conversation sparked new ideas and gave you a fresh perspective on the role we all play in creating sustainable, thriving communities. Affordable housing isn't just about buildings. It's about people, opportunity, and the legacies we leave behind. Every step we take to improve access, challenge stigmas, and drive solutions brings us closer to a future where everyone has a place to call home. Make sure to subscribe to Affordable Foundations on your favorite podcast platform and share this episode with others who are just as passionate about making a difference. Follow us on social media for more insights, updates, and stories from the field. And before we go, a special shout out to the incredible teams working on the front lines of our multifamily properties. The property managers, maintenance teams, leasing staff, and all those who make housing possible every day. Your work is the foundation of stronger communities, and we see you. We appreciate you, and we thank you. Until next time, let's keep building a legacy that lasts.